Hello, cheers to you. I am going to make sure that this is going to work. Sometimes we have video issues. Okay, so yeah, it's still Heart Health Month. I feel like I've been beating this dead horse for a couple weeks now. After like about the second week of Heart Health Month, I feel like people are like, yeah, got it. But it is still important, and there's a lot of myths to be busted within Heart Health Month. So cheers to you. Cheers to Thursday. Hi, Laura. Oh my gosh, it's been so long. We need to catch up with some wine sometime. Okay. Excuse me. So I'm here every Thursday at 5:30 on the Facebook page at Basically at Meals, sipping wine and bringing you a simple, easy nutrition tip that you can implement into your life and really benefit from. I try to do everything really simple, very easy to understand, and usually I'm kind of breaking down some of the nutrition confusion out there. My name's Hayley. I own Basically at Meals, which is a ready-made meal service right here in St. Louis. I have many years of nutrition education experience, as well as a degree in nutrition and exercise physiology from Mizzou. So it really is my passion to help you understand this stuff and hopefully answer any questions that you have. So cholesterol, that's what we're talking about. Probably one of the most thought of topics when we think about our heart health. And what I want you to understand is that not all cholesterol is bad. It's something that we actually make on purpose because it's needed. Cholesterol helps us produce hormones. It helps with digestion. It actually helps with the production of vitamin D, which is, as you know, a hormone, not a vitamin, that our bodies actually make in response to sunlight. So cholesterol isn't all bad. The issue is that if we aren't caring for ourselves properly, we start producing cholesterol in unnecessary levels, and we start producing literally the term is bad cholesterol. There's good cholesterol and there's bad cholesterol. I'm not just saying that. We start overproducing the bad cholesterol, which leads to heart disease and all sorts of other issues. So the good cholesterol is HDL. That means high density. So that cholesterol molecule is very dense and small, and it doesn't cause a lot of issues. And in fact, that is the one that it can be beneficial and we actually need. The low density, meaning it's not a dense molecule, it's kind of big and lumpy and gross. That's the one that causes issues. And what it does is it will stick in our arteries and cause atherosclerosis, which is really fun to say 3 times fast. But atherosclerosis is when our arteries harden, we start having fat buildup on our artery walls. And that will lead to high blood pressure, that will lead to heart disease, and that is really not good, and that is what we really want to avoid. So our production of cholesterol internally has pretty much nothing to do with our consumption of cholesterol, which is what I want you to mainly take away from this, is that eating cholesterol doesn't necessarily lead to internal cholesterol. So we hear about cutting out, eggs. Eggs, shellfish are the 2 big ones because those contain a lot of cholesterol. And back in the 80s and 90s, it was like, go egg whites, don't eat the yolks, don't eat shellfish, cut out all the yummy crab and lobster, but butter's fine. No. So what we actually want to avoid is not cholesterol containing foods, because those don't break down and contribute to our internal cholesterol. And in fact, egg yolks are super healthy. That's the part of the egg that has all the nutrients in it. And shellfish, also great source of protein, very clean, so that is fine as well. Yeah, like I said, too much LDL cholesterol, too much of the bad cholesterol, that is the one that really leads to the issues, heart disease, high blood pressure, and the atherosclerosis. And okay, so what we want to watch out for in terms of what is going to make our cholesterol go higher is the saturated fats, which we kind of talked about in the first episode, I'll say, the first Facebook Live of February, I covered completely fats. And that one was really interesting. So what we want to watch out for in terms of fats is our saturated fats. Those can come from animals, like any fat that's hard at room temperature. So that can be, red meat, bacon, something like that. And then dairy fat. So butter, cheese, full fat, milk. Those have a lot of those saturated fats, but a little bit of those is actually okay. So I say, red meat once or twice a week is fine. I don't think we should overdo it on the butter, but one time a week is totally fine. The cheese, I love cheese, so I'm a little bit biased, but 2 or 3 times a week, I think that's okay. I do recommend that you stay away from like the full fat milk and that kind of thing. I don't really think we ever need that. I don't think we really ever need milk. But if you like it, if it's working for you, that's totally fine. And then really the main source of like saturated fats that we want to watch out for is in processed foods. So a lot of times these are the ones that have been kind of tinkered with, is what the term that I like to use. So, the molecule looks one way naturally, but then we put it in a lab and we mess with it and all of a sudden it's something else. And that's when we really get into trouble. So any fat that is a liquid at room temperature that is manipulated to become a solid at room temperature is going to be in the danger zone for us, because our bodies don't understand what that is. And when we start eating those and trying to break them down, our body basically goes into panic mode. And I really talked about this in the saturated fats episode. I don't know why I keep saying that. I really broke this down. This all comes back to inflammation, and inflammation is a huge concern for heart disease. And it's the one that's kind of like not talked about. We talk a lot about high blood pressure. We talk about, exercise and our weight, but inflammation is really the underlying cause for all of those. So when we're eating foods that our body doesn't recognize, from processed foods, from man-made and manipulated fats, that's when we really get into the inflammation. And if we're eating those all the time, we're going to run into chronic inflammation, which is always there and kind of always affecting our health. So for those saturated fats, we want to watch out for the animal fats, and we especially want to watch out for the processed foods. Those are going to be baked goods. So anything that's baked, if you go into the bakery aisle, if you find something packaged and baked, it's likely that it has a man-made saturated fat in it. And that's because it's going to have a good shelf life, it's going to have a good texture, and those were it. There's something else I'm missing. A fresh baked good is usually a little bit different. Usually a fresh bakery is going to make things a little bit differently, probably use a little bit more closer to natural fats, but still a lot of times they're fried. They've got a ton of sugar, white flour. So just, reducing the consumption of those overall is great. Anything fried is probably going to have a ton of saturated fat in it. So that is definitely something to watch out for. And just anything processed, packaged in a package, baked or not, probably has some of these shelf stable, not so good for you fats. And then trans fats, we talked a lot about those in the first episode of February. Those are the ones that we absolutely should not be consuming at all. They're really bad, not great for inflammation. The air fryer is great. So when you're using an air fryer at home, you're basically dehydrating whilst cooking your food, which can give it a really crispy outside, and just basically cook it without all of the fat and oil. When you fry something, you're submerging it into the oil, and so the oil is really soaking into and penetrating every nook and cranny of the food, which is why fried foods are so much higher in calories, because they've really soaked up and absorbed all of that fat. If you're air frying, you likely put a little bit of fat on the outside, but that's a limited amount. It's not continually absorbing that while it cooks. You're just kind of dehydrating it, which gives it a nice crispy outer texture and makes it seem like it's been fried, but it really hasn't. So that's a fantastic way to have that same texture and mouthfeel without all the calories, without the saturated fat, without all the scary stuff that you don't want. And then how else do we work with the, or what else is causing the high cholesterol. And really, like, outside of just the dietary things like processed foods and the saturated fats, it's really our lifestyle. So exercise and how much you weigh are the biggest contributing factors to that. And both of those also play into inflammation, which is really interesting. So the more we weigh, the more fat we usually have floating around in our blood, and which will just lead to cholesterol and atherosclerosis. All of that fat floating around is going to eventually start sticking to our arterial walls and cause some issues. So that's definitely one. Even just losing 10% of your body weight if you're overweight or outside of your weight, a healthy weight range, can be huge for decreasing inflammation, decreasing a lot of the markers and risk factors for heart disease, including cholesterol. And then not exercising. Exercise is so anti-inflammatory, and that's even just a little bit of movement. We just tend to sit so much. We sit for everything. I'm sitting right now. We sit for work all day. We sit to watch TV. We sit to drive. Pretty much every activity that goes on during our day involves sitting. And we're smart. We figured out like it's way more comfortable to sit. So just getting up and moving around a little bit, getting your heart rate up a couple of times a week can really help. That pumps the blood, that moves fat out of our arteries. If it's stuck there, it will move it out. And that's really great. It's just so good for us, so good for our heart strength, all of the heart stuff. And great for inflammation. So reducing your weight and adding a little bit of exercise, just starting small. It doesn't have to be anything over the top. You definitely don't have to get a gym membership. Any little bit that you can, just moving around a little bit more at work, grabbing some hand weights or soup cans. I used to tell my, when I was out educating my seniors, I'd be like, get your soup cans. They love soup. A little bit of exercise goes a long way. And then good food. So that's way not a good definition of what I'm about to say. Plant foods is what we really need to also facilitate in reducing that cholesterol. And mostly this comes into fiber. So fiber is incredible. I will continue to sing fiber's praises until the day I die. Fiber like binds things in our body and helps us to excrete them. So fiber is kind of almost, it is indigestible. And so basically it kind of passes through our bodies, but it's very, it absorbs things. So the whole time that it's passing through us, it's like grabbing onto stuff and helping us excrete it. So fiber is awesome, and fiber is found in plant food. So any plant food that you can consume, anytime you can up your fiber intake, you are doing an incredible thing for your body. I'm not necessarily talking about fiber supplements or anything that you stir into your water, although those can be maybe a temporary fix if you're like working to improve your diet or something. But fiber from plant foods, there's tons of different types of fiber that are found in all different types of plant foods, and those are what we need to be consuming. The other side of that coin is that those plant foods are loaded with antioxidants. So antioxidants are what help to reduce inflammation. So if we are eating a lot of plant foods, we're not only getting the fiber, which helps us reduce that cholesterol, it binds all those toxins and helps us to excrete them, but we're getting tons of antioxidants which are incredible for inflammation, and cholesterol is a marker of inflammation. So we killed two birds with one stone right there. Vegetables, fruits, whole grains, so that's going to be oats, barley, if you do like a whole wheat pasta or something like that, that's fine. You can also do like a lentil pasta. I'm gluten-free, so all about that lentil pasta. And then beans are also really awesome. Beans are so fiber dense, and you can do them in the form of hummus, add them to your soup. I'll put them on top of a salad, whatever. However you get them is great. And another thing you can try is fatty fish. So I love canned tuna, canned salmon, because those are really inexpensive and you don't have to cook them. Just saying. I'm all about that, like, open it up and just start eating it life. I don't. I think as far as vegan or gluten-free, I think it's up to the individual. whatever's going to fit into your lifestyle. I don't think that anyone needs to necessarily like take on a specific diet just because somebody says like it's good for you. I think most importantly, getting in your plant foods, whether you're only eating plant foods or, you know, like that's up to you. I think that animal protein is totally fine, and that's kind of a personal choice. So you be the judge of that, but absolutely more plant foods is like necessary. And balance that out with protein, whether it's coming from, you know, an animal source or a plant source is totally fine. As far as gluten-free, I don't eat gluten because I have a sensitivity to it. So I get a rash on my arms. If you have like keratosis pilaris, if you've ever gone to the dermatologist and they've said those words, or if they said something like KP and you were like, I don't know what the what they said in between that, that's probably what you have. And that is a lot of times a gluten sensitivity, which means that there's some sort of damage being done in your gut and you're not producing vitamin K properly. So that's why I don't eat gluten. It also makes my you can see, I actually posted a picture on my Instagram stories yesterday. My lips been bleeding for like a week because I accidentally ate gluten last week. I didn't realize something I was eating had gluten in it, and now I'm paying the price in terms of like a really overly chapped lip that has been bleeding. So that's why I don't do it. I think that if you have like, so a lot of people with skin issues have gluten sensitivities and just don't realize it. I used to get rashes like under my nose and kind of around my mouth. I always had chapped lips like my whole life. I had this rash since I hit puberty, and I just never put two and two together. So it's up to you. If you think that you have like weird skin issues or other issues that might be connected to gluten, certainly try cutting it out. Mine cleared up. Something I had my whole life was gone in a week when I stopped eating gluten. So you'll notice pretty quickly like that it's working or helping. But again, I think that's a personal choice and you decide what's right for you. I don't ever want anyone to be like restricted or like not eating or feel like out of control because they said that they couldn't do something. I will say though, basically we're all gluten-free. We do make it really easy for you if you're trying to go gluten-free because you're just guaranteed not to have anything with gluten in it. And then of course, like anyone with real celiac should absolutely not have gluten. But yeah, that's kind of up to you. If you think you can do it or you want to try it, I find it's really not that difficult. It's a matter of like staying away from sweets. Those are usually the ones with gluten. And I just tell people like, if we're having pasta, I'll bring my own, or if I'm at a restaurant, I just don't eat the bread. A lot of restaurants carry like gluten-free pastas. So it really hasn't been that hard. And I would be happy to like coach anyone through that. Sorry, Laura, that was a really long-winded answer. Are you drinking wine? Because that might have made my answer a little bit easier. Okay, so kind of I was saying cholesterol. Yes, we just started the spring menu, and we added snacks, Laura, so I think you'd really like them. We added coconut collagen chocolate balls that are so good, and we added my favorite cranberry almond balls, like they're little snack bites, and they're so good. They're all healthy, like plant-based, the one has collagen in it. They're really yummy, like really, really good. Yes, snacks are so good. So yeah, check that out on the website. If you just scroll down like 2 or 3 clicks, you'll see spring menu, and you can just click that. Hi, Miles. Just click, oh, there's deer running through my backyard. Just click the spring menu and you'll be able to see all the options that we have going on right now. But the snack's are really good. Okay, so cholesterol is a marker that your body is inflamed, high cholesterol. So that's just kind of ties into that. Anything that causes inflammation is going to be a risk factor for heart disease. So if you can, you don't have to directly tackle the cholesterol, like especially with medication. A lot of times doctors, when you go to the hospital, they're going to look at the cholesterol levels and just automatically prescribe a medication to deal with that. But if you can tackle kind of the underlying inflammation behind it, that's when you're really going to see like huge benefits. And the best way to do that is adding those antioxidants and fiber into your diet. So plant foods, absolutely 100%. Exercising a little bit, even just, a couple minutes a day, a couple times a week. It doesn't have to be strenuous. It's just about moving your body, getting your heart moving is huge. And reducing your weight by even just 10% is really, really huge for reducing that inflammation. So that's my cholesterol for you guys. Not to mention red wine, very, very high in antioxidants, super good for inflammation, in moderation though. Okay, if you guys have any questions, just leave them on this video. I'd be happy to answer them. If you have any topics that you want me to cover coming up, please leave them in the comments of this video. I always recap these videos with a recipe, with my own personal tips in an email. So if you're on my email list, toe touches are great for inflammation. You toe touch away, you're gonna be uninflamed in no time. So I always recap these videos with recipes and tips in an email each week. If you are on my email list, you got one this morning. You actually got two because I tagged the wrong video in the first one. I'll try. Okay, you're going back tomorrow. We'll have to pick a date that you're going to be there that I can come back. I cannot make it tomorrow, but I will try coming up here in the next month or so to come back. I miss you guys. But if you're not on my email list, you need to be on my email list, especially if you watch the Facebook Lives regularly, because I always send out a recipe that corresponds. So I'll be sending out next week a cholesterol reducing recipe. My recipes are really simple, they're really good, and they're healthy, and you wouldn't know it based on what they are. This week I sent out salted caramel pumpkin seeds. This is really yummy. So like good things that you would want to eat. To get on my email list, you need to go to my website, basicallyatmeals.com, and you just scroll all the way to the bottom and enter your email address, and then you'll be on the list and you'll definitely get the recipes. And the other thing that I ask you to do is go to my Instagram page. It's basically_it_, and just like the page or follow the page. I do a ton of content in the Instagram stories. I always am posting like videos and recipes and tips, everything there in the Instagram stories. So if you like that page, you'll definitely get all of that content. That's basically_it_, and someday I'll have a sheet with it written backwards on here, because if I hold it up regularly, it posts backwards. Hi, sis! So like the Instagram page, go to my website, basicallyatmeals.com, and give me your email address so you can get my recipes. And next week, I do have to let you know, I am not going to be here on Thursday. I'll be here on Wednesday. So next Wednesday, the 6th, I will be here live at 5:30 instead of my usual Thursday night. And that's because I have something else going on Thursday. So I will definitely see you next Wednesday, the 6th, at 5:30. I guess I'll have wine, because who doesn't love drinking wine on a Wednesday? Wednesday wine about it kind of sounds nice. So thank you so much for being here. I will definitely see you next week. And cheers to you. I hope you have an awesome Thursday. Bye.